need to overestimate effort. I heard Grant Cardone talking about how if you plan to lift, if your whole goal is to plan to lift for a 3 pound weight, like, but imagine you're planning for a contest and the weight that you're going to lift is like a 3 pound thing, okay? And that's your goal, and you're planning, you're training, and you're like, I'm going to lift 3 pounds, and then you get there, and you can lift it. You can lift 3 pounds at the gym, and you're like, I did it. I can lift 3 pounds, and you're using two hands, right? You're using two hands to lift 3 pounds, and you nailed it. Now you can lift 3 pounds. And then you get to the contest, and life happens. One of your arms hurts, and now but you've trained to be lifting with both hands. So now you have to lift the thing with one hand, and you don't know that you can do it now because you can only lift 1.5 pounds with that other hand. So now you might not be able to do it. Or you feel sick and you're weaker. But if you train to lift 30 pounds, even though the goal is to only lift 3 pounds, you're not going to have a problem if life happens. So how can we apply this to happiness? How can we apply the idea of overestimating our effort for joy? Life is always going to happen. Happiness is fluid. Happiness is subjective, and so is stress. The thing that's in the way of our happiness is stress. It's the things that make us upset, right? Which is stress. So if we can overestimate our effort for what it takes to make us happy, and we have an overflow of joy, when stress hits, we're not going to be taken down so far that we hit the gutter. That is what doing something like a morning ritual and having consistent effort in maintaining your flow and fun is for. Remember how last week in positive psychology we were talking about not just euphoria and these like hits of dopamine, but having consistent, sustained happiness and contentment? That is what I need you to focus on. And how can you continue to fill this bucket of happiness? It's the filling your cup thing. I don't want you to think about that as self-care. I want you to think about it as joy. I want that to be so full of things that you love, things that make you feel good, that you can't run out. Yeah, the stress ghoul is going to come in at some point, and he's going to like stand at the top of your little bucket, and he's going to be like, ha ha ha, yeah, we got a flat tire today, or I don't know why that's the example, but it's an annoying thing, right? If you get a flat tire. I live in Baltimore. We have potholes everywhere. It's a problem. It's a joke here. Flat tires are pretty consistent, but like, okay, it's still stressful even if you know that it's gonna happen. So like the stress ghoul is like at the top of your bucket, and he's like, ha ha ha, I got your happiness, da da da. And he's like at the top, and he's like scooping stuff out, and he's got a little bucket, and he's throwing some of your joy juice out of the bucket, and you're like, you know what, dude? That's fine. I got plenty more where that came from, and I'm gonna dump some more in later. But guess what? You are a tiny little ghoul. You can only sit at the top of my bucket, and you don't even, if you jump into the bucket, you're barely gonna make a splash. You're a tiny little ghoul, and I got a big old bucket. In fact, I got another one at home. It's still full. So I got so much joy, I had to get a second bucket. And you can take stuff out of there, but it's not going to deplete who I am. Yeah, I'm going to have to like go home, and I'm going to have to chill out, and I'm going to have to remind myself of who I am and why I care, and that's fine. And sometimes the ghoul's going to bring a friend, and they're going to have 2 buckets going, and you're going to like cry because maybe that's where tears come from the splashing of the ghoul. The ghoul's like, ah, and you're like, what is this? It's the ghoul splashing joy juice on your face. I don't know. This is just getting out of hand with the visual, but my point is that if your bucket is so full of stuff, then maybe it won't really affect you. But what the problem is right now, that most of our buckets are like this big and this full, if at all, because we are constantly giving stress school is a good way to visualize it. Yeah, I like it too. We're constantly like, we share our juice with other people because we're merriment makers, right? Embody, create, spread. And we love spreading joy. And where do you think that joy juice comes from? It comes from ourselves too. When we are out there as our fairy selves and we're spreading the joy out there, it's coming from our bucket. It's coming from our bucket. So every time you do someone a favor, every time that you share space and hold space for somebody, every time that you do an act of kindness, you are taking a scoop out of your bucket. Like one of those little kitchen scoop things. I'm very good at cooking. Kitchen scoop things. And you're like, here you go. But it's like more fairy-esque, right? And the problem is that some of y'all are doing that before there's any juice in the bucket. So you're kind of like in the state of a debt to your bucket. It lets you scoop, but it's like -5. Like a credit card, -6, -12. And now you're walking around with this dry ass bucket that owes joy juice to someone. And it doesn't make any sense because you're not supposed to be able to scoop from a dry bucket, but because it's all theoretical, it kind of works. So why are you doing that? You need to be able to look into your bucket and be like, is this full? Is this full? Because you should not ever be scooping unless it is at the top. At the top. And that's why it goes embody, create, spread. You feel good. And that's what creates the juice. And then you go spread. It's okay if the stress school comes. It's okay. But, and another way for me that I'm thinking about this, if this helps, is that like, I'm putting into the bucket stuff that I physically like. I'm putting in rubber ducks. I'm putting in slinkies. I'm putting in smiley faces. I'm putting in stuff that I actually physically like. It can be physical stuff in the bucket. And maybe that like all disintegrates down into some sort of glitter liquid. You know, like it can be dates with stuff. It can be events. It can be tickets. It can be memories. It can be people. You can put physical stuff into the bucket if that helps you imagine what this is. But just like I said, whether it was 1 or 2 weeks ago, it's like a haircut. You have to maintain the haircut. Just because it's full doesn't mean that it stays full. It's water. It's a juice, right? It fluctuates just like precipitation. Okay. So keep that in mind and think about what goes into your joy bucket. We talk about that in the fun module with Catherine Price's research about fun magnets. Those are your fun magnets, okay? All right. And like I said, there's a whole module in the Merriment Makers. So we need to overestimate your effort. If you are planning to have 2 buckets full, then you are going to not be in a predicament when something negative happens in your life, when something stressful happens, because stressful stuff is always going to happen. If you think that just because you have now adopted a consistent state of satisfaction and contentment, and you know how that works, or you see somebody that you think is happy consistently like me, and that we're not having crying episodes or something, like, that's not true. We're all still crying every week at least, you know? So what I need you to do is just prepare for stress. You over-prepare for stress. The only difference between someone that's happy consistently and someone who is not is that we know stress is coming, so we over-prepare for it. Kits are amazing. Having stuff ready to go, stuff that's out, stuff that's ready, stuff that's easily accessible. The way that you have Band-Aids easily accessible in like an emergency kit, the what is that called? A first aid kit. It's literally called a first aid kit. You need that stuff for happiness. You need a self-care kit. You need a joyful kit, but not something that's soothing, something that is exhilarating. The difference and the problem, I think, between we have started to equate self-care with joy. Self-care is comfort. Self-care is, there's nothing happening in that space necessarily that is challenging or growth material. And self-care can be joyful, but I want you to differentiate the space between what feels like self-care to you and what feels like joy. Because self-care to me is like a little bit more in a retreat. I'm usually needing self-care in a restorative fashion. I'm usually needing self-care in a space where maybe the stress goal has just come. I want to put on slippers. I want to lay on the couch. I want to get really cozy with my blankets. I want to have like a CBD gummy. I want to like watch a movie. I want to be in restorative rest mode. When do I need joy? Always. I don't always need self-care, but I do always need joy. Joy for me feels more active. It feels more like laughter. It feels more exuberance. It feels more like engaged. It feels more jumping up and down. It feels more euphoria. It feels more like a smiley face and less like a cozy blanket. More like a slinky, more like play, more like fun. So what would be the difference for you between your self-care kit and your joyful kit? That is a really, really, really good question for you to ask yourself. And I think part of your homework for this week. I'm deviating so much from my notes. Okay, so a calendar, I know that's something that you probably really want for planning joy. So I'm going to show you my calendar, and your calendar, if you're not an entrepreneur, is going to look different than this, but I want to show you how I do stuff. Especially because it's guided by, I do mine guided by astrology. And if that's too woo for you, then that's fine. You can still do stuff guided by themes, and you can still do stuff that's in batches, because I think that batches are the thing that saves everything that I do. If you are neurodivergent, if you are a weirdo, if you're creative, if you are anything, yes, self-care is often different than joy. That is a huge takeaway from this. I didn't even know that I was going to go there, but it is a humongous takeaway from this episode. Okay, so if you are neurodivergent, if you're creative, if you are having if you have a difficult time focusing, if you are any of those things, I recommend theming and batching your schedule as much as you possibly can. And I'll just show you my calendar. Okay, so you're not really gonna be able to see me because I wanted to make it really big. Is this big enough for you to read? I'm gonna read it off to you, but okay, so I have it on my wall. I'm just gonna read it off. So every day of the week, if you are interested in the astrological components of this, every day of the week of the calendar of it corresponds to a different planet. So Monday is Mercury, and Mercury is a very communication-based planet, and that is in the italics at the top. You can see the themes that I'm using. So this is like about planning. This is about setting the tone. This is about my soul and my spirit. Okay. Also, Natalie Benson is really, really good with all of this stuff. Okay, and then so I'll do each day at a time. Okay, so that day I host this Merriment Mondays, and this kind of is setting the tone for my week. You'll notice that also all of my content for the week is based on the theme of Merriment Mondays. So this week I'm planning for joy. So then all of my Instagram content, my podcast, my newsletters, all of it is going to be themed around this theme. So it's like setting the tone energetically for the whole stuff. So I get to get riled up on here. And then all the stuff is already planned out, honestly. Like we're doing stuff like a couple weeks in advance at this point, which is great. But it sets me energetically for the tone of the week. I set my meeting notes for my team, for my social media manager, and that also helps me get into a space of what it is that I want to focus on for this week, what it is that I want to make sure is working or what isn't working, all of those things. I fill any Etsy orders or packages and things that are due. That's something that I have not been as good at these past couple of weeks, but I am fixing it. I also am planning my everything that I need to film, everything that I need to write any scripting for, anything for social media, I'm writing out that day. And then I update my the dashboard for the Merriment Makers. I make a couple of social media posts. I plan my med calendar out, and I take my meds. So you can see this is the kind of day where everything is just kind of like energetically setting and planning. All right. The next day, Tuesday, this is a Saturn day. Saturn is like a very get your shit together kind of planet. And like your Saturn return, that's why everything kind of goes like, oh, what are we doing? So this is a very organized planet and a very high literally get your shit done, that get your shit together kind of planet. So this is challenging action and focus. So this is where I'm making content for bigger products. I'm prepping Operation Merriment because that's a larger task. And I'm doing any administrative and stuff on my Notion, which is just the place where we do all of our collaborative stuff with my team. So I know that doesn't look like that many things, but it's a lot of larger tasks. Okay, Wednesday is calls, meetings, communication, and ideas. This is also... Wait, is Wednesday? Wednesday is Mercury. Okay, sorry. Wednesday is Mercury. Monday is the moon. I should have... Monday is the moon. That's why it's energetics. And Wednesday is Mercury. I was like, I'm off by that. Sorry about that error. Monday is the moon. That's why it's energetics and feelings and spirit. And that's like, if your moon sign is all about your like default setting, and sorry about that. I was like, Wednesday is Mercury. Wednesday is Mercury, which is why it's communication-based calls, meeting, communications, and ideas. So I have my meeting with with my social media manager at 10. I send collaboration emails out, like if I'm looking to partner with anybody, mailing thank you cards and notes or anything from past weekend stuff. I record my podcast. I go in and I try to engage more on social media. I go out in the world, and if I'm hosting like a masterclass or something, this is when I'll schedule that for. Thursday, this is, oh my God, now I'm second guessing my week planet rulers. Thursday's Jupiter, I'm pretty sure. Thursday's Jupiter. I'm not second guessing myself. I'm not gonna keep Googling this. Okay. Thursday's Jupiter. This is moving the needle, having visions, expansions, teaching. Thursdays is usually a good day for me because I love Jupiter. Yeah, Thursday's Jupiter. Okay, so sorry. All right, so this is when I am filming. This is when I'm writing my captions. This is when I'm making resources for the Merriment Makers. This is when I'm editing photos and then uploading everything to Google Drive. Friday, this is selling, promoting, creating content, and creativity. This is Venus Day. This is like the goddess Venus. This is a very creative, feminine day. And Tuesday would probably be the most masculine day, if that helps. And then Friday, I'm writing out newsletters. I'm prepping stuff like for the good news texts. I'm prepping out stuff that goes on like unusual holidays or the Facebook group or the chat. I'm prepping this Merriment Live. I'm uploading products to sell. Saturday is No, Saturday is Saturn. Oh my God, I messed this up. Tuesday is Mars. That's why it's so masculine. I'm so sorry. I should have written it down. Tuesday is Mars. Saturday is Saturn. Okay, sorry. Saturday is rest, discipline, structure, and important tasks. And then I do errands, making my street art, decorating the house, chores, and laundry. And then Sunday is the sun, and that's vitality, flow, joy, social, and non-work. And I'll do my Operation Merriment mission. I'll install street art, and I'll do social and events. Okay, I apologize for my aggressive miscalculation and errors with the days of the week. Okay, so let me go through that again. Monday is the moon, Tuesday is Mars, Wednesday is Mercury, Thursday is Jupiter, Friday is Venus, Saturday is Saturn, Sunday is the sun. And the themes are correlated to each one. Now, how this relates to you is in terms of, I wanted to show you my calendar so that you could get an idea of what I'm doing. Now, the point of this is that I want you to be able to think about what you do that is able to be connected to each other. So when I'm in entrepreneurial groups, masterminds, all those kinds of things, this is one of the biggest recurring questions that I see over and over again is how do I plan my week? Because people feel overwhelmed. They feel like there's too much to do. And honestly, even with this schedule, I can feel like that, right? So I always suggest to people, especially people who wear makeup, to batch the things that require them to wear makeup on the same day. So like I will do like the thing when I don't want to wear makeup, I'll schedule those things with like writing or creating and stuff like that all together. If I'm filming stuff and I'm wanting to wear like a full face of makeup, then I'll do all those filming things in one day. You know what I mean? So try to consider stuff like that all at once. And if you're already in the mode of flow for creativity, consider how you're going to line those things up. Every time that you change your state of mind from one task to another, you lose at least 15 minutes just from your mindset. Sometimes up to 45 just because of how long your brain takes to catch up. And that is exponentially increased when we have things like stuff on in the background that is difficult for us to pay attention to, or ping push notifications, or any kind of distractions. So for you to be able to first start with scheduling your calendar with batched material and doing everything all at once, it really, really helps your brain to strip down and focus on one kind of energy and vibration, if that kind of feels right and makes sense to you. So if you're an entrepreneur, I think that that is deeply helpful. If you're not, and you have more of a repetitive schedule of going somewhere or even working remotely, and then you have the times that you are and are not working for someone else, then what I would suggest is for you to think about, definitely take a screenshot. If you want me to put it back up, I will do that one more time. And at least think about the themes, okay? So, because whether or not you are a believer in astrology or not, there are energetics at play. And whether or not, let's say that this doesn't apply. Let's say that astrology is incorrect and it doesn't work. I still think the power of focusing on a state of flow and a theme can be, I mean, there's scientific evidence of flow, and that can absolutely be reinforced. So if you were even just to pick these kinds of themes for yourself and something that works for you. Like, for example, if you don't work for yourself and you want to, you don't have something that you feel like you don't have a sell promote day, right? Like, you can take that out. But I think there's actually something on each of these days that can apply to you and your life, your passion, your hobbies, your fun, your joy, even if you are not an entrepreneur. For example, let's look at, plans, tone, soul, and spirit, I believe applies to everybody. What is the tone that you want to set for your week? This looks like setting up an intention, making a positive affirmation, writing it on your mirror. Also, I feel like we're going to go longer than an hour today, just FYI. This is like, what is it that you want to do? You could pull a card from an oracle deck. You could pull an affirmation or a tarot card. You could do a meditation. This is about setting up your day. You're setting up your week, rather. Is there a theme that you want for your week? Tuesday, something challenging, action, focus. Okay, so what is, the idea of eat the frog? Doing the thing that you don't want to do. Now, this can work with any schedule. Whatever you have your quote unquote free time, what is the schedule? What does your schedule allow you to do? Is this, between 6 and 8 a.m. or p.m.? I don't know what your life is, but you do. So what is the challenging, action, focus-oriented thing that you want to do this week? And Monday is the day that you want to schedule this all out. So what's the thing that you've been putting off? What is this passion-oriented thing that is going to help you complete it this week? And remember that we're also looking at this through the lens of your joy. So what challenging, action-oriented, focused thing can you do on a Tuesday that is going to maximize your feelings of enthusiasm and joy? And the skill level or the intensity level or the difficulty level might go up or expand or look different as the weeks go on. This also might look like something that becomes themed. So for example, I host Merriment Mondays now every Monday. Are you going to do something similar? Is Tuesdays now your day that the challenging thing for you is taking a selfie and posting it online? You know what I mean? Do you have some sort of new series that you do, whether it's for yourself, for social media, for the public, with your husband? I don't know. Is there something that you do now every Tuesday? Or is it just different every week? For Wednesday, having a call, meeting, communication, and ideas. Okay, so maybe if you don't work for yourself, maybe this is still the day that you want to check in with your boss or your subordinates or whatever, and just remind yourself of how things are going at your job. Communication. This can still be a really great time to check in with your friends. You could write postcards or text messages to your friends. You could schedule a lunch with your friends. You could also, there's a whole section on here that says ideas. So what are you coming up with? What ideas do you have that you want to bring to fruition, especially through the lens of happiness, through the lens of joy? So do you feel like there is something that you've been thinking about, that you've been keeping in a note in your phone or in your journal, that would make you really happy to bring to life? And then maybe that's something that when you think about it on a Wednesday, that then you take action on next Tuesday. Okay, so then Thursday is moving the needle, vision, expansion, and teaching. Okay, moving the needle, maybe you thought of something on Wednesday, you had an idea, and now it's time to move the needle. Maybe that means calling the person that you're going to need the help with. You had this idea for making an event, and you're like, oh, this feels really hard. This feels out of my comfort zone, and I know that I could do it, but I'm going to need to ask if I could rent this space, or I'm going to have to ask somebody how to rent a space. So then moving the needle would be calling someone, emailing someone, texting someone, and just taking that first micro step of being like, I had this idea. What do you think? Is this possible? That's moving the needle. Just taking one action step. Because remember, successful people take action. Unsuccessful people talk about taking action. So Thursday is your day for moving the needle. Micro movements. And then it's also the idea for vision and expansion. So let yourself imagine what else this could look like. How could this be bigger? How can you, Grant Cardone, 10x this? How can you imagine, how could you add a 0 onto your plans? Instead of imagining that you have one friend, you have 10 friends. Instead of imagining that you're making a raise for $1,000 more, it's $10,000 more. How can you 10x your goal? What if you did a meditation on Thursday that's about expansion? You know, how can you expand your happiness? What does it look like if you were dreaming bigger for your joy? That's what Thursday could look like. And teaching. Maybe this looks like you being taught. Maybe this looks like attending a lecture. Maybe this looks like going through your modules in the Merriment Makers. Or maybe this looks like you teaching something that you learned because you're passionate about it. Maybe this is about you teaching what you are deeply passionate about to someone else. Maybe this is about you getting on TikTok and finally starting your handle and your business. Maybe that's what this is. Maybe it's starting your side hustle, or maybe it's about reteaching something that you learned this week, because once you finally know something, it's really easy. It's solidified when you share it with someone else. Just sharing something that makes you happy. Friday, selling or promoting. Maybe you have started a side hustle now, so you want to sell a piece of your art. Maybe part of your full potential is being an artist, and you want to, maybe it's not even about selling it. Maybe it's just about sharing it. Maybe your promotion is just about demonstrating that you are a real artist. Maybe it's about not having that imposter syndrome and declaring that you are a real da-da-da-da-da to the world. Maybe this creativity space is just about creating your quote unquote content. Is not about necessarily for social media. It is about you sitting down to storytell, or to write, or to paint, or to sculpt, or to make babies. I don't know. What is it that you want to create? Friday is your day for that. It's also a really good pampering day, just saying. And then Saturday is the day for rest. You know what to do there. And also simultaneously for discipline. So like any important tasks that you want to do around your house, anything that needs to be done for the structure of your home, anything that needs to be done for the structure of your body. This is a really good day for, I think, for exercise, for, hanging up stuff in your house, getting stuff up that like art that you love, putting it on your walls, decorating your home, organizing your closet so that you can dress for joy, which we also have a whole module on in the Merriment Makers. Organizing, decluttering, anything like that. I think this is a really good day for that. And then Sunday is all about being in flow and connecting with other people, supporting, having a support network, socializing, just imagining you are the sun and feeling joy. So what is that for you? So those are additional ways. I hope that that is more concrete and inspiring for you to plan your schedule. So now let me talk about any more logistics. Let's see. Your calendar should also, so that calendar right there, those are my recurring tasks, okay? So that is something that I include. I don't have to reprint that out, right? That just stays on my wall. And then every day I have this little pad of paper, and I handwrite those things down onto here. And then I also have a giant calendar that I just write. It's just, like the month. And then anything that's unique, like an appointment, a doctor's appointment, or anything that's out of the ordinary, that goes on there. And then at the beginning of every day, I recopy what's on the calendar that I just showed you and anything that's unique onto this. So then I go through and I cross off everything one at a time. That's how I do my schedule. Okay? Now, at the beginning of the week, I also take a look at my calendar, the one that has the oddball stuff on it, the schedules and stuff like that, and I try to make sure that what's coming up in that week and the month is both not too overwhelming, stuffed with appointments, and also has enough fun in it. So I want to be sure that there is time and events that there's at least one big fun thing for me to look forward to. So I don't know if you've ever seen me post my, I call it Currently. I share it in the Merriment Makers, and I also share it on the my social media stories. And on it, it says like, what am I currently feeling? What am I eating? What am I listening to? What am I watching? And what am I inspired by? And then one of the prompts says, what am I looking forward to? And that is an extremely important prompt. And if I can look at my calendar and not have something on there that I can look forward to, I'm in trouble. You always need something on your calendar to be looking forward to. That is absolutely necessary for your joy. I think there should be one thing on there every week that you're looking forward to. This does not mean that it needs to cost money. Most of the time, mine doesn't. I mean, sometimes it does. Sometimes I bought a ticket to a comedy show. But a lot of the times it doesn't. It'll just be like a photo shoot or going out or like, I don't know. It's just making a street art project or something. But it's on my calendar. And I don't even know what's in my head. Like, I don't write that from my head. When I go to write my Currently, I'm like, oh, what am I looking forward to this week? And then I literally open my Google Calendar and I'm like, oh, that's what I'm looking forward to. And then I remind myself, and it's a really nice reminder of like, oh yeah, that's coming up. That's really nice. And it's a nice way to also experience joy, to embody joy, because I'm consistently adding things and saying yes to life and putting things on my calendar that will provide me the experience of fun. And this is also in the fun module. So you also need to be consistently putting something on your calendar that will provide you with something fun. There's an enormous amount of free opportunities. This should never be about money. This is about how you can create the opportunity to say yes to something. I remember a couple years ago, this person commented on my blog and said, this must be really nice for you because you live in a city and there's more stuff to do where you live. And at the time, I wasn't even living in Baltimore. I remember writing all of these responses from my one bedroom in my dad's place and on a twin bed and in the county. And I was like, okay. But I mean, I got it. I was like, yeah, I mean, I can't imagine living in like Mississippi or something where there's, in a small town where there is legitimately less options. So I was like, I take this challenge. Where do you live? And they texted me, or they wrote back, and they gave me this town in, it was South Dakota. And I was like, okay, give me an hour. And it actually took 90 minutes. But in 90 minutes, I had come up with a list of like, I forget the number now. It's been years. But you can look it up on my blog. I think the article was called I Can Find Cool Things to Do in Any City. And in that 90 minutes, I found at least 50 things to do in the next 6 weeks in that person's town. Now, I'm not saying that I would have done them all. I'm not saying that they were necessarily fun or up my alley, but I am saying that there was stuff to do. And a lot of the time when people ask me, how'd you find that? How did you know that was even happening? I'm like, I looked. Like, no one invited me. I mean, sometimes now, because I've been doing this for so long, people will absolutely reach out to me and invite me. It's kind of like, I don't really look for duck memes anymore. People send them to me. And that is because once you do something for so long that you're passionate about, the opportunities do start to come to you. You remember that? Yeah, that was a long time ago. That's funny. I like that you remember it. But I was like, I'm going to find these options because I'm going to prove to you that these things exist. And it's kind of like, I remember, I think I might have even quoted this in the article. Rob Lowe's character in Parks and Rec was like, I think you have a lot of options. I don't think they're terrible, but you have them. But, you know, they don't all have to be terrible either. I think that anything that we participate in can be fun most of the time if we just choose to turn on our participatory light. You know, I remember really hating church and just feeling like I had to get through it. And then I was like, what if I just like tried? And I still don't really like it, but if I am going to do something, I am going to do it. And if you're trying to get through something, you can just do it. Just sing the songs, have fun while you're there, you know? And back to the events, like I look for stuff. I make time when I want to attend stuff. I make time. I sit there. I Google events this week in Baltimore, events December 12th, 2023 in Baltimore. I go on Facebook events. I look. Does it take more effort? Yeah, but that's the way. That is the way to find stuff. And there's not really another way. It's just like anything else. If you want something, you must look. If you want money, you must make it. If you want, I mean, eventually, like I said, eventually opportunities start coming to you. But you have to light the match. You really must. And yes, so I absolutely think that you need to have at least one thing on your calendar that you're looking forward to a week. This anticipatory feeling gives you hope, it gives you desire, it gives you fun, it gives you something, and then you actually get to experience it. And sometimes the anticipation is better than the event. But that's fun too. And then also that one day a week, remind yourself of what's coming up and gather stuff that you need. There's nothing worse, oh God. But it sucks when you get to that day and you're like, oh, I was supposed to prepare a dish. I was supposed to wear a costume. I was supposed to da-da-da-da-da for this event. And now you're rushing around. So like a week before, I will look ahead and say, okay, so I'm like, for example, I'm going to the Hippodrome next Thursday. So that means that I would like to wear a costume that is in theme with this, or I'm going to a potluck next da-da-da. So that means that the time that I will be going grocery shopping before that, I would like to get I will need to shop for the ingredients for that. So that means that right now, while I'm thinking about it, I need to think about the meal that I'm going to cook for that. And I need to write down the ingredients on my grocery list for that now. You know, so it's about thinking that far in advance so that when you're there, things are easier. Planning for joy means having a lot of structure. Anything that's easy and you feel a lot of freedom and creativity in means that you've actually done the legwork up front so that you can feel free in that space once you get there. When I feel the most fun at an event like at the theater and I'm in a full costume and stuff, it's because the week before I was like, okay, what am I going to wear? And and then I'm gonna grab everything before. I spent hours getting ready. I got there on time. I wasn't rushed. I ate before. I have everything that I need while I'm there. So now I can have fun. There was a ton of structure that went into me getting there, and now I can relax and enjoy. But if I am stressed the whole time before I get there and I'm rushed, I don't even want to go. I don't even want to be there. And I'm all like, while I'm there. That's not fun. That's not fun. And that's the antithesis of why I'm going. There needs to be, and it's the same thing with like an art studio, right? If your stuff isn't organized, if there's no structure to your supplies, you can't have fun in the studio. There's no point to it. You can't find anything. Everything is like this. You need to have structure and discipline and order and organization so that when you're in the space of creativity, you can have fun and flow and freedom. So these things feel like they are cagey and boxes because they are. But it's so that you can fly once you're at the place you really want to be. And once you get better at it, you'll start being like, oh, I actually felt so much freedom when I was doing that thing that what if I planned it out even a week earlier? How could I actually make this even more fun? If I've learned anything from you, it's that you can make pretty much anything fun. Yeah. So what I started to learn is that the farther in advance I plan, the more free and fun I can feel in any moment. So the more stressed out I am before I do something or during that, it's not fun. But the more planned I am going into something, the more room I have to make something fun, which means that I could like bring bubbles. I could bring googly eyes. I can bring goodie bags. I can feel so confident about myself. I can hype myself up on the way there. I can listen to positive affirmations in the car. I can have a system. I can have like a little routine planned. I could plan a dance. I could plan choreography. I can wear whatever I want. I can do anything at that space during an hour. I can maximize the time that I have because I've maximized the time before I got there. That is what planning is for. Planning is tedious. Planning is not sexy really necessarily, but the results from planning are. And that is the whole point. And speaking of making anything fun, this is also about... Okay, one more thing before we go into that. When you're learning about or focusing on your goals, because we all have goals that aren't necessarily fun, right? I want you to think about which of your goals are focused on joy and fun. And if you don't see any, like we're about to come up on the new year. I know a lot of us are going to start like looking at resolutions, are going to start looking at, what our goals are, how we did, how we didn't do, and start making new goals and stuff. And I want you to consider, do any of these have to do with my joy? Do any of these have to do with my fun? And if you don't see any, I want you to add at least one. And maybe you can rationalize the fact that, this goal will make me feel good, and that's great. And I want you to, and if that's true, I want you to focus on why and how. How will smoking or not smoking, make you feel good? And if you can also, incorporate that into the goal and put that on the vision board and really instill that passion and the why as your reason, that will actually really accelerate the success and the efficacy of your goal, because you're not doing it just because. You're doing it because it's going to make you happy. So if you can tell me why any goal you're doing is something that's going to make you happy, then it's really actually an aligned goal. But if you tell me that like, I'm doing this, I'm trying to do more of this, or I'm trying to do less of this because because it'll make me, and you're like, will it make me happy? I don't know. If you can't say that it's going to make you happy because, why are you doing it? Why are you doing it? Who told you that this was something that you had to do? Now, if it's something that's like difficult, and there's a difference between something that's challenging, that's good for your health, and you know that being alive longer is going to make you happy. There's a nuance there. I understand. But I want you to be able to implement the gratitude of that result into your joy. Because if you can't flip it with that perspective and be able to say, yeah, I don't want to stop smoking. It's not going to make me happy in the short term. However, I can see that through the results of not smoking, which will lead to the probability of me not getting heart disease or cancer, and that will make me live longer so that I can da 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 da. And that does make me happy. If you can flip it and provide some perspective for yourself and correlate that to your joy and feelings of happiness, I can bet you that you are actually going to succeed. You're going to be more likely to succeed with your goal than if you had not created that perspective at the beginning. If you cannot understand how your goals create or connect to your joy, they won't work. They'll be done out of shame instead of from a place of joy. And also, I want you to have a goal that is specifically out of just fun and joy. Something that just makes you feel good. Something that you don't have to wrap a perspective thread around and twist and turn and try to look in the mirror and be like, well, okay, yeah, I guess it'll da-da-da. I want you to have a goal that's just like, yeah, I want to do this. This makes me feel good. And I'm doing it every day. I'm doing it every week. This is my fun joy goal. Okay, so back to what April said about being able to learn from me how to make anything fun. Now I want you to take a look at the things that you don't necessarily like to do, that we all kind of have to do, and that we don't expect to be fun, like work and chores and errands. So I want you to be able to plan to make these things fun. So the first thing is mindset. Reminding ourselves that we are alive, reminding ourselves that we get to do these things, going from I have to I get to, that we have freedom, right? That we're not literally caged, that we aren't in jail, that we have the privilege to run errands. I'm sure that there are many people who are homeless or are in jail or are enslaved that would absolutely love to have the freedom to run errands or do chores. So that's a good mindset to have, that to have the freedom, the free will, the willpower, and ultimately the choice to do all of these things that we are doing and complaining about, right? A perspective shift that yes, things like a to-do list of any kind can be tedious and frustrating, but the fact that you are choosing to do it means that you care enough about something at the end of that rainbow to continue to do it instead of giving up and going to lay on the couch in a room to eat Hot Pockets for the rest of your life. So I want you to think about what is at the end of your rainbow right now in this micro moment of this task. So is it that completing this task or the series of tasks on your to-do list will allow you to help your daughter apply to college? Is it that you're going to get food for your family to eat for tonight, or a dress cleaned so that you can wear it to a fun place in a couple of weeks? This is about asking again for your why. Your why is very important always. So why are you choosing to, quote, deal with your to-do list instead of blowing it off? It's kind of like, okay, I'm in traffic. I hate this traffic. I'm on my way to work. Ugh, I don't want to be traffic. First of all, you are traffic. Second of all, why are you willing to do this? Why are you willing to put up with this? Why don't you just turn around and go home? Why did you leave in the first place? Because you have a job. You don't have to have a job. You could choose to not have a job. You could choose to be homeless. You could choose to not, right? You think that you don't, but you do. And you're choosing that this option is better than the other option. That's what I mean. You have options. You may not like them, but you have them. And there's a bigger reason that goes behind this choice then this is annoying. So what is your choice? What is your reason? Okay, so now that we've made that and reminded ourselves of this gratitude perspective, let's brainstorm some ways that we can also make this task fun. Pippi Longstocking style. So here are some fun ideas before I send you off of ways to make chores, errands, and organizing fun. Decorate your mode of transportation. Googly eyes were made for your dashboard and your skateboard. Make a playlist for different things to do, like different themes. So a different playlist for driving and cleaning and shopping. Put your hair in pigtails. Use wire if necessary, just like Pippi Longstocking. Strap sponges to your feet and clean the floors. I love that she does that in that movie. Make all of your labels and systems very beautiful, very colorful, and very artful. Remember, order is necessary for everything, and there's no reason that order can't be pretty. Draw all of your shopping lists. It'll take longer, but maybe you just like draw the cereal box instead of writing out cereal. Collect shopping lists when you're out. Look for the found ones. Those are really fun to find. Pretend that you're 4 years old and someone is coming over, and just like channel that level of excitement. Be like, ah! Try to get into that space. Yell in your best Tim Gunn voice, let's make it work. You can reward yourself and put stickers on a board every time that you do something good. Decorate your water bottle with stickers. Move your body in a different way every day for a month. Cook naked in a frilly apron. Drive to new places to take walks. Check out the Wander Society for moving your body, and just that book in general to like explore and discover new places. Learn amazing dance moves from the wacky inflatable tube band, just like the guy on It's Always Sunny in Philadelphia. Set an alarm on your phone that shows you an affirmation. Or sign up for my good news texts every day. Wear monochrome matching outfits. Okay, channeling your inner child or a specific character you love, gamifying tasks, decorating any specific microenvironment, or adding costumes or novelty items are great ways to start to add merriment to your daily tasks. The most important thing to remember is consistency. Consistency with scheduling and your actions. The more you practice, the easier it will be to find more ideas to make things fun. It's just like everything is exponential. Use the ideas that I've given you to start, and your own creativity is going to take over. But do one every day and see what happens. And if you need more ideas, check out the 30 Days of Happiness Guide. And you can get that on my website at uncustomary.org. Don't forget to subscribe and like and share this episode. The more people that, see this, I think this was a really good one. The more people that get to experience planning their joy means the more people will get to experience joy, which means the more merriment makers we have, which means the more people will spread joy at the end of this process, which is ultimately the beginning. So your homework is to, your homework is to make your calendar, and then make sure there's at least one thing on your calendar every week that you're looking forward to. And also to take a look at your goals. Take a look at your goals and see if there's anything on there that you can be sure is just something that's fun or joy related. And if there's anything on there that you can't correlate to your happiness, do that perspective shift. And try to now start every day gamifying or channeling your inner child to make something, on those mundane tasks, those mediocre tasks. Go ahead and gamify those and start to add merriment to those mundane daily tasks. So that is pretty much it. And I hope that this was helpful for you in terms of planning your joy. Don't forget that my pep talks are now starting to go up for sale for a la carte purchase. They're only $10. It'll make me so happy. If you get yourself one, you can pick a theme, and the Merriment Makers is always ready for you to enroll. And I love you. I will see you this time next week. Our next theme is going to be gratitude. And is it gratitude? No, it's kindness. It's kindness, I think. I don't know. We'll see. Okay. I'll see you this time next week. Thank you so much for hanging out, and I love you.